While Elon Musk might be the richest person currently, he's not the wealthiest human being in history. Surprisingly, when you adjust for inflation, he's not even close. Even if you combine the fortunes of Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, and Jack Ma, they still wouldn't match the wealth of the richest individuals who ever lived. According to Forbes, in their most recent rich list, SpaceX owner Jeff Bezos was named the richest person in the world, with a staggering net worth of about $242.6 billion. To put this into perspective, Musk's fortune is greater than the GDP of 75% of countries globally. Essentially, one man possesses wealth comparable to that of an entire nation, and a sizable one too. This amount of money is so vast that it would be impossible for anyone to spend it all in a single lifetime, no matter how extravagant their lifestyle. Mansa Musa is widely considered the wealthiest person ever, but you might not have heard of him for two main reasons. Firstly, he lived nearly 750 years ago, and secondly, he was the Sultan of the Mali Empire. The Mali Empire, the largest ever in Western Africa, was a remarkable civilization. At its peak in the 14th century, it spanned nearly 500,000 square miles and housed about 5% of the world's population. It was a massive and powerful empire stretching from the Atlantic coast of West Africa to the deserts of what is now Niger. This region of the Mali Empire was home to some of the purest gold available at that time, and during the medieval period, power was often measured by access to gold. The only other state with comparable military, economic, and political strength during this period was likely China. The empire grew rapidly during Africa's golden age of trade. Its immense wealth came mainly from gold and salt, both of which were abundant locally. In fact, around half of all gold in Europe, Africa, and Asia came from Mali's gold mines. While the value of gold is understandable, the importance of salt might seem surprising today. Back then, salt was incredibly valuable. It was worth its weight in gold to the right buyer because it was essential for survival. Salt made food taste better and preserved it, which was crucial. In contrast, while gold was appreciated for its beauty, it wasn't as vital as salt in the 14th century. Mansa Musa was born around 1280 AD and became the 10th ruler of the Mali Empire around 1312 AD. His path to power was unusual. He was initially only meant to be a temporary leader. His predecessor, Abu Bakr al-Kita II, had left to explore what lay beyond the Atlantic Ocean. He took with him 3,000 ships, abandoning both his throne and immense fortune, despite there being no proof of what, if anything, existed on the other side. Neither Abu Bakr al-Kita II nor his fleet was ever seen again. Some historians speculate that he might have reached South America, but that's a different story. What's important is that since Abu Bakr al-Kita II never returned, Mansa Musa officially took over the throne. He then focused on expanding the empire's territory and increasing his already enormous wealth. One point worth mentioning is that Mansa is a title rather than a first name. It means emperor or sultan. So when we talk about Mansa Musa, we're referring to the ruler of one of Africa's greatest empires. Just how wealthy was he? Let's put it into perspective with an example. As a devoted Muslim, Mansa Musa was expected to make the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca at least once in his lifetime. The Hajj is a sacred journey to Mecca and one of the 5 core principles of Islam. When Mansa Musa decided to undertake this pilgrimage, it became one of the most extraordinary journeys ever. The world first witnessed Mansa Musa's immense wealth during his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324. He traveled in grand style with a caravan that stretched as far as the eye could see. Although the details of this journey are based on oral traditions and various written records, making them hard to verify, it is widely agreed that the scale of the trip was extraordinary. Instead of a simple trip, he led a massive caravan that included 60,000 men and women, 100 elephants, 80 camels, and a personal guard of 500 elite warriors. They carried enough supplies to sustain everyone for the long journey. An enormous procession of thousands of African soldiers, nobles, merchants, scholars, and slaves, all adorned with gold, made its way through the city's narrow streets. Chroniclers describe an entourage of tens of thousands of soldiers, civilians, and slaves, along with 500 heralds carrying gold staffs and wearing fine silks. The caravan also included many camels and horses loaded with gold bars. Horses and camels, decorated with gold on their fur, carried massive amounts of treasure that were freely given to the poor and exchanged for goods. Leading this impressive procession was Mansa Musa, the Emperor of Mali, seated on a gold throne and holding a gold staff. In essence, Mansa Musa's pilgrimage was like a grand mobile city stretching as far as the eye could see. It was even more impressive and opulent than Aladdin's magical procession in the story, which was created by a genie. When ordinary people like us pack for a trip, it is common to take some extra spending money. Mansa Musa did just that, though in a much grander fashion. He kept his cash stashed away in a bag he carried at his waist, and he had a bit more than usual set aside to enjoy his journey. For Mansa Musa, a bit extra meant 21,000 kilograms of solid gold. Yes, you heard that right, 21,000 kilograms. Just in case he needed some extra funds for bargains on his trip. You might wonder how he managed to carry all that gold. Well, most of it, around 20,999 kilograms, didn't fit in his bum bag. So he relied on 12,000 slaves, each carrying nearly 2 kilograms of gold. Along with the gold, he also brought thousands of kilos of gold dust, used as currency in his kingdom. With tens of thousands of people and hundreds of animals accompanying him, Mansa Musa's display of wealth was unprecedented. It was a sight the world had never seen before. But here's the twist. Mansa Musa wasn't just showing off. One of the key principles of Islam is giving to charity, and he had come prepared to distribute his wealth. He gave away so much gold that it devalued the commodity across much of North Africa and the Western Arabian Peninsula, including major trading cities like Cairo, Medina, and Mecca. In cities like Cairo, Mansa Musa is said to have spent vast amounts of gold giving to the poor, buying souvenirs, and even commissioning the construction of mosques. So much gold was distributed that Cairo's economy collapsed and took 10 years to recover. His generosity caused a decade-long economic downturn, but his mission went beyond just giving away gold, and his concerns extended beyond material wealth. Mansa Musa also aimed to spread his religious beliefs far and wide. As the wealthiest man of his time, Mansa Musa didn't just spread the word about his faith, he started a unique tradition. During his pilgrimage, every Friday, no matter where he was, he had a mosque built. Since the journey lasted nearly 2 years, that adds up to a lot of mosques. However, it's important to note that since Mansa Musa ruled the Mali Empire so long ago, historical records from that period are scarce. By the time Mansa Musa returned, stories of his incredible wealth had spread across the Mediterranean. Mali and its king had become legendary, a status that was solidified when they were featured on the 1375 Catalan Atlas, one of medieval Europe's most important world maps. The map depicted the king holding a scepter and a large gold nugget, literally putting his empire and himself on the map. This makes it hard to say for certain if his pilgrimage was purely for spiritual and charitable reasons. Some historians believe he might have used the journey to flaunt his immense wealth as a form of medieval publicity. His trip could have been a way to impress allies, intimidate enemies, and elevate the Mali Empire's global standing. His pilgrimage also served as a massive recruitment effort. His displays of wealth, generosity, and influence attracted thousands of supporters and brought some of the era's most renowned thinkers and artists to his empire, many of whom he brought back with him after his pilgrimage. When he returned home, Mansa Musa continued to make an impact by building mosques and madrasas, educational institutions, throughout his lands. Inspired by his journey, he returned to Mali in 1325 and initiated a golden age for the city of Timbuktu. You've probably heard of Timbuktu, even if you're not sure where it is or why it's notable. It might even seem like a legendary place, similar to Atlantis or El Dorado. Don't worry if it does, many people think that way. Today, the name Timbuktu often symbolizes something incredibly distant and remote, partly because Europeans didn't find it until the 1830s. As a devout Muslim, he was particularly interested in Timbuktu, which was already a center of religion and learning before its annexation. After his pilgrimage, he commissioned the construction of the Great Jinguereba Mosque with the help of an Andalusian architect. It was built with 200 kilograms of gold, and today it still stands and is part of Timbuktu University. At its peak, this university was one of the world's leading centers of knowledge, with 25,000 students and a library of 1 million books, more than the Great Library of Alexandria ever had. He also founded a major university, further boosting the city's reputation and attracting scholars and students from across the Islamic world. The real reason Timbuktu became well known is largely thanks to Mansa Musa. On his return from Mecca, he took over Timbuktu and turned it into a major hub for trade, culture, religion and education, not just in Africa but worldwide. By skillfully annexing Timbuktu and reasserting control over the city of Gao, Mansa Musa gained control of crucial trade routes between the Mediterranean and West African coast. This led to a period of expansion that significantly increased the size of the Mali Empire. He invested the empire's wealth in developing Islamic scholarly traditions in West Africa. By the 1400s, Timbuktu had become a hub of knowledge, home to around 80 universities. Scholars from around the world traveled there to study Islamic law, astronomy, theology, and other sciences in this highly literate and sophisticated society. Under Mansa Musa's rule, the empire became highly urbanized, with schools and mosques in hundreds of densely populated towns. His rich legacy continued for generations, and to this day, mausoleums, libraries, and mosques remain as a testament to this golden age of Mali's history. This was at a time when many Europeans thought Africa was a land of uncivilized people. When Mansa Musa came to power in 1312, much of Europe was struggling with famine and civil wars. However, many African kingdoms and the Islamic world were thriving, and Mansa Musa played a key role in bringing this prosperity to his own empire. It's hard to pin down the exact amount of Mansa Musa's wealth today, but estimates of his wealth range from $400 billion to $600 billion when adjusted for inflation. To put that in perspective, it's roughly the same as the GDP of Norway or Ireland. In reality, this number is more of an educated guess, and it doesn't really matter much. Claims about Mansa Musa's wealth are subjective, but they largely stem from his access to vast amounts of gold. Mansa Musa was so incredibly wealthy that the specific amount is less important than the fact that his riches seemed limitless. Even in today's world of billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and the powerful influences of Wall Street and big tech, it's difficult to imagine a more prosperous era. Many believe that Mansa Musa's wealth surpasses that of all modern billionaires, making him the pinnacle of a long line of West African rulers. He had the means to do anything he wished, and fortunately, he chose to use his wealth to help others and improve their lives. There are certainly worse ways to use the greatest fortune ever known, don't you think? If you enjoyed this video and would love to see more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, check out other informative videos on this channel for more interesting stuff. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.